Hi y'all, it's good to see you today. I hope you're having a great day, and if you're a returning visitor, I'm so happy that you've come back, and if you're a newbie, then welcome. We are working again on our Lapbook journal combination, and we're doing the pages on our Lapbook. If you haven't seen the previous videos on this series, then there will be a link listed below that you can go back and catch up. So for today's video, I have our completed project all finished in my Lapbook because I thought I had recorded it and my phone had shut off and I was unaware that it had shut off. And so I continued working and talking to absolutely nobody and finished it. So today we will redo that on a separate page so that I can show you how it was done. And let's get going. All right, so our second go round with this video, and let's get our tags. So to determine the size of our tags, I have a piece of 8.5 by 11 paper that I folded in half. And so this would measure 5.5 across here, which is the width that I cut of my first flap, of all three of my flaps actually. And I don't want my flap to go from edge to edge, but I have to turn in 1/2 inch to glue it down. So when I do that, it makes it the perfect size. So whatever size your paper is, cut your flap that width and then score 1/2 inch on one side so that you can use a flap to glue your tag down. I have made a 2-inch tag or flap, a 2-inch flap, or let me see, make sure I'm telling you right. Yes, I have 3 different sizes. You can have whatever size you want. I'm just telling you what I have done for mine. So I have a 2-inch one, and then I have a 2.5, and then I have a 3. You do not want your flaps to be taller than your page. Actually, you prefer them to be shorter so that if you want to put a pocket in the top flap, your tags won't stick up beyond your paper, especially in your Lapbook, because that folds down and it would interfere with the folding down of the page before it. So I have these, I inked them up, and I just used cardstock that I made my Lapbook with. And then I cut some papers. You can do either a 1/2 inch or a 1/4 inch, depending on how much room you want around the outside of your paper. This one I did a 1/4 inch. So if it measures 5, I did 4 3/4 wide. And then tall, this one is 3, so I did 2 3/4. And then on the back side, I cut some paper that I can journal on, and I did I think I did the 1/2 inch on this side. The pockets I wanted a little bit more. I did the 1/2 inch on this side. You can do it however you want. So we're going to glue down our papers on our flaps. And I'm just going to use a Yoo-hoo stick for the back. Put that in place. And I inked around these papers also. All right. And then for the front, I cut a thumb hole tab with my 1 1/8 inch circle punch. And I went in about halfway and then punched it. And then I inked around that too. Now, when I glue this on, I'm just going to do the 2 short edges and the bottom long edge so that I can have a pocket in the top. And for that, I'm using the Barely Art glue. Now, as you're applying the papers, if they're directional, keep in mind that the direction that your flap will be going, because these flaps go in 3 different directions. The bottom one, which is this one, is the smaller one, and I'm going to use tacky glue to glue that down, and I'm going to glue on the 1/2 inch flap that I made on the back side of it. And I'm going to glue a little bit up from the bottom of my ledger paper, my 8.5 by 11 paper that's been folded in half. I'm going to glue just a little bit up, and I'm going to center it on my page. So this one is going to flip out to the left. Okay. The next one, our medium size one, which is the 2.5 inch one, I'll put some glue on my flap again. And I'm going to tuck that down inside, open up the bottom flap. And this one I'm going to put just a little bit inside the other one. You can see it's maybe a 1/4 of an inch, just a little. So it's going to sit down inside that one. And I'm going to put that one in place. And that one's going to open up to the right. Okay. And then for the bigger one, the 3-inch one, I'll put some glue on the edge. And put that one just inside here, like about the same, a 1/4 of an inch possibly. You can measure them all if you want. And that one opens up to the left, so they close. And they're just tucked inside each other. So the bottom flap is on the top flap is on the bottom, and they open up like this. This is my journaling space here and here. This page is going to go in another journal, so I'll wait until I do that journal to cover these little flaps here where I glued them down. And I am not going to add more to these papers because the tags are going to be my focal point. So to make a tag, I have taken a piece of the cardstock that I made my Lapbook with, and I cut it. This one is 3 by 3.5. You can make them whatever size you want. Just keep in mind what size pocket they're going to go in so that they fit. And make sure that when you make them for the top, they don't stick out beyond the top of your paper. You want them to be down inside. So I've coated both sides of this with gesso. Now I am going to take some ink, and it is Dr. Phil Martin's Iridescent Gold ink. And I'm going to take my fan brush and get it wet. And dip it in a little bit of my gold ink and splatter both sides of this. I'll do one side and finish it, and then I'll dry that and do the other side. And after that, then I want to take my coffee and I want to spray it. Just a bit. Then I'm using Distress Worn Lipstick ink because that's what I've used on my fabric cover. Putting it onto my acrylic block, misting it with water, and applying it to my card. So there we have the color. Now, the reason I have put the gold on the bottom is because when I reversed this and put the pink on the bottom, the worn lipstick, it faded too much. I didn't like that. I wanted a little more color. I'll take a minute to dry this. Okay, so this is what we have. And you can see the gold, you can see the worn lipstick, and then you can see some of the coffee stain in there. I'm going to turn that around and do the same thing. So there we have our card, our base to our card, and now we're going to add some collage elements on it. And we'll start with, I have chosen some dictionary paper, and I'm just going to use a glue stick to glue these down. And then I have some of the print of the tattered, of the weathered texture paper, which is what we've been using right along in our journal. I'm going to add a little bit of cheesecloth that when I dyed my cover with beetroot and the papers that I did with beetroot. I also did some cheesecloth. And I also have some threads that when I frayed the edge of my fabric for my cover, I saved the threads. I have a little butterfly. I better use Fabri-Tac for that too, because I'm putting it on fabric. And I have way too much glue here, so let's put it on this also. I'll put a little butterfly on here. Oops, I'm sorry, it's a dragonfly. And then from My Porch Prints, I have some dictionary words, and the word we're going to use is creative. And I will put that right over top. And everything was edged with brushed corduroy distress ink. So there we have our tag. Now for this, I want to take my distress corduroy, my script stamp, and just where there isn't anything, I'm going to add a little bit of script. I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to add some script to the back also. Then I'm going to take my tool and I'm going to take brushed corduroy and edge up the outside edges on the front and on the back side. This will complete our tag that will go in one of our pockets. So, and put this one right in the bottom. And I have created beforehand some other ones. So there's creative, here's remarkable, and I'll put one in the center. It's called Kind People Are My People. And then in the top, I'm going to put You Were Made to Be Awesome. Some really nice inspirational quotes. Actually, I'm going to take the tall one and put it in the center. And the two shorter ones on top. That's a better fit. And the other one says Inspire on it. So we have our flip out pockets with our tags. And they flip out just like this. Okay. So on the other ones, I have gone around and zigzag all around the edge with my sewing machine. And I will take this one that I just made here with you, and I'll go do that too. But this completes our project. I hope you enjoyed it, and maybe you can make one of your own this afternoon. Thanks for watching. I hope you come back again to see the next project. Ring the bell and get the notifications, and you have a great day. Talk to you again soon.